Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, brothers and sisters. You are listening to the Muslim Cultural and Welfare Association of Sutton Radio Ramadan. My name is Kashif and I'm your host today. And today's radio station or radio show will be all about youth. If you remember, we started the Ramadan radio series with an interview by Sheikh Yasir Qadi, and he mentioned a couple of things during his interview, amongst many other things, but these two important things for us were about the importance of the youth and how to develop them in your community and how to make space for them. And the other important thing was about sisters and allowing them space in the community as well, and leadership as well. So today's show follows on from last week's show, which was really more about the sisters, where we interviewed the sister Zara Muhammad from the Muslim Council of Britain, the Secretary General, and we had Sister Olga, who is our trustee, and another interview with Sister Sadia, or Dr. Sadia, about the COVID vaccinations. Today it's all about the youth and activities in and around the area. So we'll be playing some extracts from interviews with the youth, and also with other activities outside, such as Dawah activities in the area, and also activities to do with, so we've got Dawah, the youth, and we've got some scouting activities. So we've got an interview by one of the scouts, a young scout, interviewing the scout leaders for Pearly Scouts. So that's all in a packed show today. We have got we've got a lot to get through, so I'm going to get on with the show. The time is now 7:05. Today's iftar time for breaking the fast is 8:40 p.m. That will be preceded, as always, by du'as by Imam Yusuf Sahin, and followed by the du'a to break the fast, and then the Adhan. So we're now just going to play the Ramadan verse by Imam Yusuf, and followed by a translation of this by Amal Kilidar.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون أياما معدودات فمن كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام مسكين فمن تطوع خيرا فهو خير له وأن تصوموا خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصمه ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون.
O believers, fasting is prescribed for you, as it was for those before you, so perhaps you will become mindful of Allah. Fast a prescribed number of days, but whoever of you is ill or on a journey, then let them fast an equal number of days after Ramadan. For those who can only fast with extreme difficulty, compensation can be made by feeding a needy person for every day not fasted. But whoever volunteers to give more, it is better for them. And to fast is better for you, if only you knew. Ramadan is the month in which the Qur'an was revealed as a guide for humanity, with clear proofs of guidance and the standard to distinguish between right and wrong. So whoever is present this month, let them fast. But whoever is ill or on a journey, then let them fast an equal number of days after Ramadan. Allah intends ease for you, not hardship, so that you may complete the prescribed period and proclaim the greatness of Allah for guiding you, and perhaps you will be grateful. When my servants ask you, O Prophet, about me, I am truly near. I respond to one's prayer when they call upon me. So let them respond with obedience to me and believe in me. Perhaps they will be guided to the right way.
So these were the verses from the Qur'an, Surah Baqarah, verses 183 to 186, and translated by Amal Kiladar. So thank you very much to Amal for having translated this for us during our radio shows this Ramadan. So now we're going to move on to explain to the community some of the Dawah activities that happen in around Sutton, Carshalton and Wallington by a group of brothers who are at Makwas, and they've organised themselves. You may be surprised to hear that these Dawah activities have actually been ongoing since the year 2000 in this area, and they have come a long way. And obviously, things have changed on the ground, so they have responded likewise. So we have an interview which is performed by our brother Asif Raza from Wallington, and he's interviewing brother Abdul Salam, and you may know brother Abdul Salam. He's in the community, and also a recent convert to Islam, as recent as within the last year, who's brother Aaron, and you may even see him around the mosque. He's a regular visitor to the mosque in Carshalton nowadays. So let me play that to you now.
Right. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon you all. Welcome to the Makwas Radio Ramadan show. Right. I have two guests with me, and we're going to talk about the Dawah and a little bit more about how it got all started into the Sutton Dawah stall. And I introduce you to brother Abdul Salam, who is the pioneer and the founder of Sutton Dawah stall, and also a young and dynamic brother Aaron, who is newly reverted brother. So welcome you both, brothers.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
To start with brother Abdul Salam, tell us something about your project. What is it all about, brother?
Are you referring to the Dawah stall?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Dawah stall. It's a project that has been going on since early 2000, around that time. And before we started the Dawah stall, there was a group of brothers getting together, forming a small community support group where we invite people to join. We engage with youth, with activities. And from there, we sort of, straight after the September 11, I remember, we've been thinking about doing something, showing people what the true Islam is. So over the time, we did sort of indirect dawah, not really form the dawah stand or dawah stall. And when I mean indirect dawah, we used to have classes, we used to have engagement with non-Muslims, we used to bring them on board. And I remember we used to hold them in civic offices. And every week we used to have at least 3 or 4 non-Muslim attending these events. And then from there, we started doing outdoor activities such as, barbecues and things like that. So we used to, again, invite non-Muslim. And then gradually from there, we've always had this in mind to do something in the local area. And knowing that Sutton is quite a conservative sort of town, as you would expect it to be. And so finally, we just thought, after, obviously, we're seeing this negative stereotype of Muslims in the early 2000s, after September 11th event, we finally decided, well, let's take a leap and go for it, and let's propagate the Islam to our local community. So that's when, in around, I would say, early 2005, 2004 or 2005, we officially set up this dawah stand.
Right. Okay. MashaAllah. That's great. And what are the challenges that you have had over the years, brothers? Talk to us about some of the challenges that you have faced with your Dawah Stall project.
Challenges. One of the challenges just the resources, the manpower, I would say, because as I said, over the years, people don't. You'll have the people don't stay in the same place, you know. And we've had people that move from the local area, and once you lose quite a few people, and I know quite a good brothers who used to dedicate their time. So one by one, when they started leaving, that sort of then made we had extra sort of like challenges. And how do we then continue this project, but getting new people on board? So that, I suppose, that's one of the challenges. Another challenge is how do you make the stand presentable? We had to find a way of trying to engage with people, because many people were reluctant to attend or come and see us in our table. So that's when we looked at our Dawah stand and we said, let's do something that, let's make it sort of like a mini exhibition sort of type stand where people would come. It will cater for everyone. If they just want to come and read the posters, then they're more than happy to read the posters. If they want to chat, then they can chat with us. If they want refreshment, we've got refreshment there. So we had that in mind, and we started building I would say at that time was a unique sort of Dawah stand. We developed that Dawah stand over time in the area.
Right. So in terms of challenges, just extending a bit more here, what do you see? What sort of people usually come over? Are they like mid-age more, or sort of elderly people more visit your Dawah street, or who sort of people are mainly visiting you on the Dawah stall?
We do have, and it varies, because we have youngsters visit. We do have, and youngsters we tend to see more open when they visit us. We've had people from different faith visit us in terms of wanted to either just find out more or wanted to debate in the stand. We've also had quite a number of Muslims visiting us, and that's quite for us, it was an eye-opener on there. Trying to get more information on Islam on there.
Okay, sounds great. Okay, talking about youth, let's go to Brother Aaron. Could you talk to us about yourself? Where did you grow up, and what do you currently do, brother?
Assalamu alaikum. So I grew up in Surrey. I'm currently a university student. I studied literature at UCL, and yeah, I moved to Kashif around 3 or 4 months ago with my family.
That's nice. So what led you to Islam, brother? When was it? How it got all started?
So I think this must have been like 16 months ago now, in my first year of university. And I was going through quite a difficult time, and I was friends with 2 Muslim brothers at university, university accommodation, and I one day decided to pray with them in the accommodation, and I think from then on I started receiving signs, basically, and I eventually picked up a copy of the Qur'an.
Right. So how long it took you before you said, yes, that is it, this is the day I'm gonna take Shahada?
I think from that point onwards, it was maybe 3 or 4 months. And it was the 3rd time I picked the Quran back up. I think I was maybe halfway through Surah Baqarah. Right. And that was when I was convinced, basically.
Right. So as in the Quran, the structure is a bit different, right? You may see a little bit here and then a little bit at the later stage. So when you were going through the Surah Baqarah and you convinced yourself that, yes, this is the creation, this is the book of the God, and that led you to Islam, is it?
Yes, so it was a particular verse. I think it was the one like, remember me, I'll remember you, and do not be ungrateful to me. And I think this struck so personally because when I did receive these signs, I would almost have these like bursts of a feeling in the heart and the sense of being watched all of a sudden, and being aware of that in a way. And I think right before I picked the Quran back up for the third time, I had this overwhelming sense of that feeling. I think just in combination, it sort of led me to the realization that I had to go through with this and I had to accept Islam, basically.
SubhanAllah. So how is it like after you accepted Islam? What was the reaction of your family and your friends? How are you dealing with those sort of challenges at the moment?
I don't think too many people actually know that I'm Muslim. Also within my family, only my mom and my brother know that I'm Muslim. And I was kind of like, so this happened during lockdown as well. So I was, I guess, by myself, like having made this decision alone. But I guess they soon found out and I told my family. And alhamdulillah, they were quite respectful, but obviously shocked.
Right. And are they willing to listen to you with open heart in terms of what you have to say about Islam? Do you talk to them about Deen, what it is? What is it in it?
I have been trying to give dawah to them, but there's still that sense of detachment. Is the right word? It's like I guess there's an element of perhaps distrust is quite a too big of a word there, but I think the media is just definitely playing a big part, basically, in preconceived opinions towards Islam. And so what I do say, it sort of perhaps glosses over their ears, and perhaps they may be hearing it, but perhaps not listening.
Right. So obviously the media playing a huge role here. So you were also part of that, right? And then you have had friends who talk about Islam and get you to have a different sort of feeling, and then get you to read Quran so that you can decide by yourself what is right, what is wrong, isn't it? So it's something sort of that flavor you need to then indulge into your friends and family, right? So then maybe
yeah.
becoming
I think leading up to my conversion as well, I very much a big part of it was my own experience with like the nafs, and it was almost like being deconstructed, and I was noticing like perhaps some internalized Islamophobia that I had, and how actually unnatural that was to have. So that was definitely part of the journey, and kind of realizing myself, basically.
Sure thing. So, okay. Going back to Brother Abdul Salam, what is the general reaction, brother, from public when they see you on the street, big hoarding of Islamic dawah stall, and what sort of behavior or sort
well, when we first started, we obviously they've never seen something like this in Sutton before, so it was sort of, I suppose you could see the looks of shock, from people, maybe looking at us differently because this is something new they've come across on there. And I think it was very good for us to start that, because it's the stereotype that we're trying to sort of remove from people's attitude. Even if we're sort of like physically there, even if we don't speak, the sense that there is something there, trying to show to them that, yes, we are Muslims, but we are people like you there so it was sort of, we had that sort of reaction at the beginning, but over time, as months progressed, and as you know, we've been there since 2005, it become a part of a normal high street, or like the Muslims on there, or Muslims being there present. So yes, and you can see people's sort of attitude change. Although I remember specifically during 7/7, and I'm not sure if Aaron was young at that time, too young to remember this, but during 7/7, when there was an attack in London, we were quite sort of worried. Should we go to the stand? And because it was the reaction of the public at that time, and especially when you've got so overwhelmed by media news and everything, the negativity you had. So we were thinking, should we stall for a week or so? And we decided, no, inshallah, let's try it and go for it. And we went to give dawah that Saturday, and I remember it was quite hostile. We've had people who came to us, approached us, and they thanked us for being there, and they appreciated us for to show the true version of Islam as to what we see in the media. So there was some positive. There are also people looking in disdain. How dare you come out, on there, especially after that. And I remember on that very weekend, it was a week after the 7/7, and we were at the stand, and in the afternoon, we got attacked on the stand that afternoon. And when you look at it, when we at that time, it looked quite bad, but what came out of it was very, very positive, in that sense that when that happened, first of all, when we did the dawah there, we weren't actually 100% sure whether we were allowed to take that much space in the high street. But when the attack happened, we had straight away the following week, we had the support from the local council, we had the support from the police, and that support there just legitimized our permanent fixture in the Sutton High Street. So from something negative came something very positive on their outcome.
Brilliant, mashallah. Okay, how many shahadas do you have had over the years? And probably if you want to quickly talk about any memorable story or event that you remember.
People always count the success of dawah through shahada. And I always say that it's not all about shahada, because when it comes to the shahada, it's Allah who guides whom he wills on there. It's not our job to guide, or it's not our job to get the shahada. Our job is to convey the message. That is our job. And then it's for Allah to guide the individual on there. But having said that, we've had number of shahadas in the stand, and I can remember quite a few notable ones. And one shahada that I remember, and in fact, there's two I can tell you that comes to my mind. One was it was a very, very big learning lesson for me, because there was a gentleman that came to the dawah stand, and for me, because when they say never judge a book by its cover, I was looking at that gentleman. I think he had tattoos or something on his arm, and for me, I just thought, this guy, I don't know why he's here. I don't think he's going to be receptive to Islam. It's not worth speaking to him. Some sort of thing went through my mind. I just thought, well, I might be wasting my time speaking to this person. And then another brother in the stand took time, approached the gentleman, spoke to him. Within 5 minutes, the gentleman took the shahada.
SubhanAllah.
And that sort of told me something, that never assume that, assume someone, like just by looking at, always, like, and from that time onward, no matter who approach, always give time to them, because you never know, who is there, who's ready and who isn't. And there was another time I remember, it was Brother Farhan who took the Shahada from, it was in fact 3 years ago. I'm not sure. Yeah, it was Brother Farhan who got the Shahada at that time. A lady was approaching she just came in that Saturday morning to go to the post office. And on her way, she came to the Dawah stand. Again, just thinking that she'd just come in just out of curiosity into the Dawah stand, talking about it. And Farhan was talking to her for about 5 minutes and telling her about the concept of Islam and what we believe in and the oneness of God. And within 5 minutes, she took a Shahada.
Subhanallah.
Yeah, so, yeah.
MashaAllah. So, Brother Abdul Salam, what is your message to young and dynamic Muslim youth to join your team? What is that you are looking for? So, these kids, they can, confidently explain Islam to others, which would make more sense than we elders on its own.
Well, the thing is, we've at the beginning, we were fortunate enough to have quite a lot of youngsters coming to give dawah. And just looking back at it now, just thinking about how did we manage to get so many youngsters doing dawah at the time? Obviously, people get older, they get more commitments, or marry, have family, and then move away, or have other priorities in life on there. But we were quite fortunate at the beginning to have quite a number of youngsters doing dawah. And I think one of the things that encouraged it and gave that enthusiasm to the youth to come is we had a regular sort of program in the local area where the youth we're trying to get hold of heavily youth involvement, and through that, number of youth came through that, coming to do the dawah. And I think this is what we are missing at the moment in our area. It's developing our youth, and I'm hoping that with the new management and reinvigorated makwas, that we will have a lot of youth activity, bring youth along, get them again reinvigorated, motivated, and hopefully through that we develop the youngsters coming into dawah.
Inshallah, Aziz. Going back to Brother Aaron, probably last 2 questions for you, brother. Are you getting enough support from the local community, especially the masjid offering what they're offering to you, like sort of, or you need more face-to-face sessions to learn more about Islam, Arabic, etc., or you think you are getting enough support there?
Yes, alhamdulillah, I think I'm receiving quite a lot of support, sufficient. And I think face-to-face definitely would be better, but obviously we can't really do that with lockdown. But hopefully, inshallah, in the future that could be more possible.
Maybe when the lockdown is over, Aaron, you can be part of the doing dawah in the high street in Sutton.
Yeah, sure. Inshallah.
So, sure. Right. So to conclude with yourself, what do you find difficult to access about Islam and Muslims in general, Brother Aaron?
I think perhaps physical books. That's very key, because I think there are definitely a lot of downsides in using the internet as a means of accessing Islam and seeking knowledge.
Right.
I think
so it's something we need to pick up on, Brother Abdul Salam.
I'm quite surprised to hear from Aaron's point of view in terms of about books on there, because we tend to get whenever we see anyone coming to dawah stand, people want short, sharp information. That's what we see at the moment. Although, having said that, we do cater for people like Aaron that that prefers book. We do have books on Dawah stands as well, but most likely that people tend to sort of want sort of short burst of information. I think it's that era that we live in at the moment.
Sure thing. Last two questions, I promise, Brother Abdul Salam. Right. In your experience, what do you think? What stops a person from being a Muslim once the truth is carefully explained to them?
I think it's I think it's the commitment that because it's something that soon as they hear it, it means they have to change, and some people that maybe that not ready to change yet. That's one thing. Another thing could be family, because I remember going into the family sort of issue. I remember we had a youngster coming to the stand, and he was so convinced about Islam. He wanted to take the Shahada, but there was something that was holding him back, and that was his family, because he came from a very conservative family and he just did not want to upset them. So I think one of the barriers is, again, if you think about it, we are born into this faith. It's easy for us to understand it. For someone to come new, sure, they have to also deal with the family, as Aaron mentioned earlier on there. And I think it's that. So there's a combination of factors depending on individuals. You can see on there.
Yeah. So as you heard there, that was a very personal story from Brother Aaron sharing his journey, to Islam, and the work from the Dawah stall that you can. I mean, when you hear that, you can hear it's been going on for 20 years now. There have been a lot of lessons learned by the local brothers. It was great to see that Brother Farhan Kiladar can convince almost anyone, mashallah, to become a Muslim. So he will go up to the guys with the tattoos, and they'll just accept Islam purely when he starts speaking, mashallah. We do need to know how our dawah activities are seen from the viewpoint of non-Muslims who are quite interested in Islam, even if they're privately, secretly interested, because they see so much of Islam being exposed in the media, and deep down inside they know how the media operates and how some of the stories just cannot be true, because they have in this country, alhamdulillah, usually had some kind of contact with a Muslim or many Muslims. Either we're living next door, we're working with them, they've seen us practice in Ramadan, they may even have seen a Muslim praying in a meeting room, privately at work. So they do see that there is a very there is a side to Islam that they're not being exposed to in the media, and they are exposed. So we should be aware of how we do come across. And listening to Brother Aaron's very emotional, from my point of view, is an emotional kind of story of how he's had to deal with a few things in becoming a Muslim, and knowing that we Muslims who are born as Muslims forget that we don't have to alienate our families or our friends, or even change our culture maybe, or give up parts of our culture to submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Firstly, I make dua for him that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it easy for him and all those who accept Islam. But we should learn from our newly converted brothers and sisters in how we come across to non-Muslims. So yes, thank you very much for Brother Asif for conducting that interview, and for Brother Abdul Salam and Brother Aaron for all your contribution to that. The next thing I'd like to play for you guys is an interview by one of our youngest members of the community, Dayeb Yasin, who is a scout with the Pearly Scouts. You're going to hear all about the Pearly Scouts in a minute. He interviews Brother Asim, who's one of the scout leaders, and Sister Sadaf, who's also one of the scout leaders for Pearly Scout, and he's done a great job. So please have a listen to his interview for the Scouts.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Tayyab Amel. In today's Radio Ramadan's program, I welcome our guests, Asim Kokar and Sadaf Kokar, also known as Akela. Asim and Sadaf are two of the founding Scout leaders at Pali Masjid Scouts. Assalamu alaikum, Uncle Asim and Akela.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Walaikum assalam. How are you, Tayyib?
I'm fine, alhamdulillah. I have enjoyed scouting with the Pali Masjid Scouts group for the last 2 years, and I'll be talking to you about the work you have done to set up this very useful and fun scouting group. Auntie Sada, before we dig in, can you please tell us what is this title Akela? And why are you called Akela in scouting?
That's a really good question. Yep. So in scouting, nobody calls me Auntie Sadaf. They all call me Arkayla. So Arkayla, this name comes from the Jungle Book. Have you seen the Jungle Book?
Yeah.
Have you heard of the Jungle Book? It's got lots of characters. It's got like Baloo, it's got Bagheera, it's got Shere Khan. So it's a story that was written by Rudyard Kipling. And the whole of the Cubs section is actually based around the Jungle Book. And the characters, that's the name of all the leaders. So I'm Arkayla, and my assistant in my pack, she's called Car. Then there's another pack as well where the boys are, and they've got leader called Baloo, and then Iki. So it's all based around all the Jungle Book characters. And in the book, Arkayla is actually the leader of the wolf pack, and that wolf pack is where Mowgli is brought up. So all the little cubs that are in my section, they're like Mowgli, and I'm the leader.
Uncle Asim, can you please tell Radio Ramadan listeners how and why a Muslim Scouts group was formed? Isn't scouting based on Christian traditions?
Very good question again. So the vision for the Scout group came from Sheikh Suleiman Ghani. And what happened was he attended a event in Kent, and not too far from here actually. And it was a Muslim Scouting Fellowship initiative. So he went along to that, and he experienced what scouting was doing for the community there. And he invited the Muslim Scouting Fellowship to come to Pali Masjid to do a show and tell, to explain to us what scouting was all about and whether we can get involved. And so it was December the 31st, 2017, one evening when the volunteers from the MSF came to Pali Masjid, and a few of the local community gathered at the masjid, and we were shown what scouting was about, and the vision that this is not a Christian organization, and it's not necessarily something that, you know, has to be a particular religion. It's open to all religions. And so our eyes opened up to the fact that this is all about skills for life. And so it doesn't matter what your background is, what your faith is, you can partake in scouting, and you can absolutely blend in some of your religious values into the scouting activities, but it's all about the badges and working towards the badges and learning through fun and practical hands-on experience.
Alhamdulillah, what an inspiring story. Akela, can you please tell our listeners what are the age groups in scouting and how frequently do scouts meet?
Yeah, so we've got Beavers, and that's the youngest group. They're 6 to 8 year olds, and that's boys and girls. They meet on Sundays at 11 o'clock. Then we've got Cubs. So in our group, because we're a Muslim group, we've split them into boys and girls. So the girls are in the Raksha pack, and they meet on Sundays at 3 o'clock. And then we've got the boys who are part of the Hatti pack, and they meet on Thursdays at 6 o'clock. Then we've got another older group, which is the Scouts. So they're from 10.5-year-old to 14-year-olds. And the girls meet on Sundays at 1:30, and the boys meet on Thursdays at 7:30. There's actually another group after this, and they're called Explorers, and they're from 14.5 till 18-year-olds, but we don't have this section yet. So inshallah, once we've got leaders, maybe some volunteers will come forward after this, and we can start the Explorers group as well, for boys and girls separate.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Akela, Who dictates what you do in the scout group, and what kind of activities do scouts do at Pearly Masjid Scouts?
So as Uncle Asim mentioned, it's all teamwork. Each section's got a leader and an assistant leader, and then you might even have some other helpers, other volunteers who come forward and help. And they decide what's the program for a term. So a little bit like school, you have not a curriculum, but we work towards badge work. So we want to cover off badges. You might have seen some scouts, their arms are covered in badges. If they're beavers, they're cubs or scouts, they wear their uniforms with pride, and they just have so many badges, and that's things they've worked towards and earned. So we base it around badges, and we try to cover off a few every term. So we've got different types of badges. You'll have activity badges, you'll have staged badges. So activity badges could be like gardening badge, other things are like faith badges. There's just lots of badges, anything that interests the children. We also ask the young people. So we have like pack forums in Cubs where we'd say, what badge would you like to do next term? Or what kind of activity would you like to do? So that helps us make it a bit more youth-led. So a lot of my Cubs always say, we want to do a camp, or we want to do a sleepover, because they love doing that. Or it might be something adventurous. We want to go do some archery, something they've not done at home with their families, or they might have done, but just something they enjoy doing, because we want to get everybody outside.
Okay, great. Uncle Asim, how could you please share with our listeners, where is Pearly Masjid Scouts based in, and does Pearly Masjid Scouts have any dedicated premises?
Yes, so when we started this project, we were going to have Pearly Masjid as the base, and for outdoor activities we were looking at different venues where we could maybe hire some halls with grounds. And then this amazing thing happened. We started to show the district, Croydon district, and the district commissioner at the time, Steve French, that we were really serious about this vision of launching a scout group. And so they were coming to various meetings, and we had several meetings, in fact, at Pearly Masjid, where they came, and Amir Bhai, your father, was there as well, and Sheikh Suleiman attended some as well. And in that fact, he actually gifted some of the district who attended that meeting with some Qur'an Sharifs. And that was an amazing meeting where I think they realized the volunteer base that we had meant that this project was going to be really successful. So what happened was, as we were approaching the summer, the district held a meeting, and in that meeting we found out that there was sadly a group that was closing down because they didn't have the numbers of members that needed to sustain a group. So 24th Pearly was closing down, sadly, but we were starting up. And so their premises, which was down the road, it's not quite in Pearly, it's in Coulsdon, but their premises became available. And so we jumped at that opportunity. And in fact, I have to say, it was Amir Bhai, your father, who actually went along to the premises. He was the first leader there to have a look. And I think he met Sonia there, who is obviously one of our leaders now for Zaytoon Troop, who was the group scout leader for that group. She came with the hut and gave all her experience as well. So it was that amazing timing of having set up a group hut premises being available, and us taking over that. The benefit of taking on the premises was that we got all of the equipment as well that was from the previous group, and that was invaluable, because to actually build an inventory of such equipment would take a lot of money and a lot of time, and we were gifted that with the hut. So we're very lucky to have the hut, the equipment, and also the grounds. That is really beneficial. When we have campfires, we can use that, and when we have outdoor activities, we can use that. And there's many groups actually that don't even have outdoor facilities, so we've been blessed, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Uncle Asim, what are the benefits of Pearly Masjid Scouts to the wider communities?
So the benefit of scouting is to learn skills for life. And it's actually one of their missions to teach young people practical skills that they can take on into their everyday lives. and help them build confidence and also leadership skills as well. So we go out, you know, doing hikes. It might be sleeping over for a camping experience, or it might be fire lighting. It might be doing all of the kind of things that you wouldn't normally do in day-to-day schooling. And so it's extracurricular activities, but in a safe environment. And I think the big thing for scouting is that you have badges that you earn. And so that's something that all the children look to achieve, as many badges as possible. It's like a reward for them. But along that journey, you're actually learning lots of skills and you're building friendships and relationships. So you might be in a troop or in a pack where you don't know people from before, so you'll build new friendships. And the big thing is, obviously we haven't been doing recently because of COVID, but when you go on a camp, you establish long-lasting friendships and relationships and memories. And those memories, I think, you know, really stand the test of time. So for the community, it's all about trying to give the young people an opportunity to do something different and ensure that it's in the right environment with the relevant leadership there to provide the support and the teaching that's necessary. And also the important thing is we evaluate every activity with a risk assessment, so that whatever we do, even if it seems something too adventurous, we've tried to look at all of the risks that could be involved and mitigate those risks so that we keep it as safe as possible for every young person, inshallah.
Okay. Arkayla, what is the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the scouting activities?
Okay, so yeah, scouting, everybody really has been affected by COVID-19. We've not been able to meet face to face since last March. So our hut, yeah, it's unused at the moment. The grounds haven't had children running around playing team games, sports, because every session we do, we start with a team game. We start with a game at the beginning and a game at the end. So we've had to adapt. And like you've done with school, when you were in lockdown, you've been using Zoom or Skype or Teams, we've moved to Zoom. So all our sessions have been done on Zoom for the beavers, for the cubs, for the scouts. It's all been on Zoom. We've tried to invite people that we wouldn't have been able to invite. So we've had like pets at home or people like that come along. We've had people do Makaton sessions. So one advantage has been we've had lots more visitors than we would have been able to have. We've done badges like Digital Citizen, Digital Maker. But yeah, I think everybody's missed being at the hut. Camps, we've done 2 virtual camps, well 3 actually, we've had those. So everybody's still got nights away badges, but it's not the same as being in a tent which you've built with your like cubs or other scout friends, and slept outside. So we've missed all of that, but we have carried on, and there's not really been much impact on the beaver section. So that's still thriving. All the beavers have been attending Zoom every week. Cubs as well, we've noticed a little bit of a decline. I think it's been more for the scouts, because the scouts are older and they really did enjoy going on the hikes and doing the archery and doing the camps, and they've not been able to do that, and the fire lighting and yeah, campfires. So.
Also, do you meet with any other scout groups other than your own scout group, Pearly Masjid Scouts?
Yeah, do you want me to take that one then?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do lots of sessions and events and activities with other groups, because we want our young people to see that they're not the only scout group. So we're actually part of Croydon District, and then the bigger picture from Croydon District is the Greater London Southwest. So Croydon District, there's how many groups are there?
There's over 50, I would say.
Yeah, it's a big district, Croydon. So we have district meetings where the leaders attend per section, and then there's events that the district has set up that we take part in. So one of these was a few years ago, we went to RAF in Hendon and we covered some air activity badges, and that was like all the groups in Croydon they all got together and the Cubs went to RAF Hendon, and that was just a great day. It was just lovely because we've got our neckerchief, which has got Pearly Masjid Scouts on it, and then they all had their own neckerchief, so that was different. And it was nice seeing Cubs and talking to their leaders and just getting ideas from them, and the children even get to chat to other children. So that's a good way that we mix with other scout groups.
And to conclude, Akela, can you please tell Radio Ramadan listeners how and why anyone should join Pearly Masjid Scouts?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, join 30th Pearly Scouts. We're local. You'll have lots of fun, learn skills for life, fun with your friends, building relationships. What else? Get outdoors. So the out in Scouts is, we want to get outdoors. Camping, that's one of my favorite activities, and for all the Cubs and Scouts and Beavers as well. And the adventurous activities in a safe environment. Teamwork, all the skills you learn, team leader. So there's so much to learn, and it's just so much fun. I've loved all your questions, Thayeb, so I've got one for you this time. Because you're part of Bukhari Troop and you are also part of Hathi Cubs, I want to know what you thought about the MSF camp we went on 2 years ago in the summer.
Oh, yes. So that MSF camp was great. We had loads of activities. And one particular activity, it was climbing a wall. And then you had you had a rope and you had to jump on the rope. And if you missed it, it was fine because you had like a jacket and it was connected to a string. So you had to jump on the rope and you had to catch it and stay on the rope. Otherwise you would fall and you would fall on the ground, but it would be fine. And
so it was an adventurous activity. Was this the first time you actually slept in a tent as well?
No, I've slept in a tent before at the hut and on the playing fields. And also there were many activities, and there was another one. We also had archery, and we also had sumo fighting, and we also had our own sweet shop.
Oh yes, I remember all the Cubs and Scouts loved that sweet shop because it was so cheap as well.
I really enjoyed it.
What about the campfire? Do you remember that? I remember a lot of my Cubs were falling asleep because it was quite late.
Yeah, but we had some light herb sticks, and there was a massive fire, and some leaders and some scouts as well. They were singing around the campfire. It was great.
Oh, excellent. I think the camps are where the memories and lots of badge work and that experience of just sleeping under the stars
or not sleeping, really.
Or not sleeping, maybe. It's an experience for everybody. Highly recommend a camp for all Scouts, and inshallah I'm sure we'll resume.
Uncle Asim and Akela, thank you so much for joining us in today's program. I'm sure listeners will find this useful and will be encouraged to join this wonderful youth organization.
Oh, thank you, Thayeb, as well. You had some really good questions, and it's been lots of fun being here.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And we're proud to have you as a Scout within our Bukhari troop as well. And always grateful to Amir Bhai, your father, who continues to support our group. Alhamdulillah.
So, wow, look at those memories. Cheap sweet shop at camp. That's my memory from camp. I want to thank Thayeb for an excellent interview. He really stepped up. I know I asked him only a few weeks ago. So thank you very much for coming in there. This has been a great initiative, the scouting, as Brother Asim mentions. There are so many volunteers behind the scenes involved in this to make it happen. And they ensure that all of the camps, as you heard, the archery sessions, all the activities happen so safely for all the kids involved. And so that the kids locally can have such a great experience. It's the kind of club that Muslims, unfortunately don't really join when they're outside of the Muslim community, right? So if they're organised at school, then a lot of Muslims do the Duke of Edinburgh, but that's usually quite late. So this is great at a young age where parents can rest assured that because it's a Muslim-led club, that the values and ethics are in line with expectations. Also, the important thing for me is that these youngsters learn to lead and network and build very strong bonds for their future friendships through these activities and through spending all the time they do. So it's very important for the community that we have this Scouts Club, and also that we replicate this across all communities as much as we can. Now, moving on to the next item, talking about networking, here's a group of youngsters who attend the Makwas Youth Club activities organised by Yusuf Khan. So here you've got Yusuf Khan, and many of you know Yusuf, our own resident youngster, probably not so young now, he's married and he's got his own kids, mashallah. He's interviewing Yahya and Isa about the youth club activities in MCWAS, Makwas. Listening to this interview, I thought, when I first heard the interview, I thought it was, just young kids having a bit of a play. But if you listen to it, there are some real gems in here, and it's just amazing to know that, in amongst the PlayStations and the MMA, whatever goes on in those, nights that they do at the masjid, that they do learn so much. So here we go.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We have two guests here, mashallah, Isa and Yahya, and something special about these two brothers is when it comes to youth activities in relation to the Masjid Makwas, alhamdulillah, they've been with me, alhamdulillah, for since 2013, when it all started off with the initial youth club. So, Assalamu alaikum, Isa.
Walaikum salam.
Assalamu alaikum, Yahya.
Walaikum salam.
So, Isa, as mentioned, so you started with us. So we used to do like a lot of, I remember you when we used to do like a lot of youth club, the initial youth club that we had started. Yeah. And that was every Friday from, 6 to 7? Yeah, 6 to 7, straight after the madrasa. And you were one of the first attendees with your brother, mashallah. So how old were you then, back in 2013?
I was 11, 12 years old. And I was just coming madrasa, and one day I heard I was youth club. So I was like, let me stay after and see what it's all about.
Mashallah, that's good. And how old are you now in 2021?
I'm 19 years old.
19, mashallah. So you've gone from beginning of secondary school, first year university, and what are you studying now?
I'm studying computer science in Kingston.
Mashallah. And Yahya, how old are you when you started with me?
I was 9 years old.
And you are now?
16.
16. So you're in year 11 now,
yeah,
secondary school. And what year were you in when you came? Primary?
Year 5.
Year 5, mashallah. Yeah. Okay, Isa. So when you came like youth club back in 2013, when you were a young lad, how was your experience like? In terms of, because we did have like, it went from, we used to have like 5-6 children, and it grew, within 6-7 years, we had like nearly 30, I'll say 30 boys that would always attend on a regular basis. Obviously, this was from the boys' point of view. We had obviously the sisters on the other side. So what was your experience of like coming to the youth club on a weekly basis and knowing that was, there for you at the masjid, that you can always sort of enjoy after the madrasa? What was your experience like?
My experience was good because like something like this never really happened before. There were the odd ones off, but like a weekly thing, it was something that we would enjoy and look forward to the whole week. So every time after madrasa, we'd be like, okay, on Friday we're having youth club. And then when it came, we'd enjoy it, and it was a time to like wind back and the brothers just kept on coming, and no one who came really left. You know what I'm saying? That's how it grew.
We noticed in the youth club that it was quite young children, and as Isa, you were getting older, we wanted to do something for the older children, so the teenagers, so those who are really 13 to 18, really 13 to 19. So then we sort of created a program. We launched it called Chill Out Friday, and this was something which was the last Friday of every month, and it was like this was more of a 3-4 hour session, and it would go on for a very long time, and it was much more, the activities that we're doing are much more diverse. It was like MMA, wrestling, boxing, glove and pads. Then we had the PS4 hooked up. We had an Xbox hooked up. Then we do sort of group activities. there was a massive meal at the end of it. There was table tennis. So there's various things happening. I think at one point, I had brought down like dumbbells and barbells for you guys to lift. And that we attracted around 50 people. I think I capped it at. So what was that transition like from going from a youth club, which was really for the youngsters, to something which was kind of catered to teenagers? How did you find that?
It was good, and again, it was something to look forward to. We'd think, oh, okay, chill out Friday at the end of the month, but obviously, it was brother Yusuf's very open with ideas that we give him. I was like, come, let's get a PS4. Next day, there was a TV and PS4 at the corner of the masjid that these lot were playing their football games, their FIFA. Next day, I'm like, yo, let's get some weights. let's get the brothers lifting. So we started, everything that. Any idea that was reasonable, you brother Yusuf would implement it. Do you know what I mean? So it was open like that. We would take suggestions and stuff, and the brothers would reciprocate. Like we'd basically kind of do our individual things, and then we'd have a big group activity. Then we'd eat. So it was a proper bonding experience. I see it as as you get older. In the kind of area we live in, it's not the same as the full Asian areas of London where you have these kind of people around you. A lot of the brothers don't really have that kind of Muslim group around them, but that allowed further bonding. Do you know what I'm saying? And it was good, man. It was a healthy transition, I'd say, because there was starting to be two significant groups, the youngers who were around, primary school, early secondary school age, and then there was the teenagers, and we thought it would be best to like kind of not exactly separate them, but allow the teenagers to spread their wings, and kind of, I wouldn't say adultify it, but make it more mature for the oldest.
That's the reason. Yeah, I think that was the intention behind it, really, because it was getting a bit, how long can you play dodge for every week? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So we wanted to really just say, oh, do you know what? Put a few more activities out and just make it a bit more, appealing to that age group. So what about you, Yahya? How did you find like Chill Out Friday?
Yeah, I mean, it was much more fun than I'd say youth club then. Youth club at that time, I'd say.
Yeah.
But then, obviously, because the activities were much more diverse than youth club. Obviously, you had like 4 or 5 different things happening at one time. And then, obviously, during the Chill Out Friday, we used to have like 1 hour discussion thing, a debate. We used to have like that topic discussion.
Oh yeah, we used to do debate.
And then, that was obviously very fun to listen to because it was like really interesting topics and really, difficult topics. Not many people even knew about the topics we were talking about, but it was really interesting to listen to what people had to say about those things.
We didn't know a lot of brothers had those kind of views until we actually started talking to them. Because normally we don't talk about these in school, even if a lot of brothers go to the same school, they don't talk about these things in school. They don't talk about it in their like personal life. But in the masjid, it's a place open for discussion. And we didn't know certain brothers are proper on their deen, mashallah. Do you know what I'm saying? So it was a very eye-opening experience, I'd say. I didn't know a lot of brothers thought the same way I did. Or, it was like a discussion. I learned a lot from it as well.
You kind of had like that, because the message is like a hub. So when you have people come together, you kind of like, you see people, that brother goes to my school and, do you know what? Oh, he's just a Muslim like me. And do you know what I mean? And you don't really, like I said, you don't really have that opinion of someone else until you really come together. And I think the brotherhood was strong. You probably made friends with people. When we used to do rug bro, team activities, you made friends with people you'd not make friends with. That was like a nice experience.
Yeah, that's true. And I'd have to say the cultural diversity in Chill Out Friday in the masjid was so high, mashallah. We had brothers from Maghreb, from Northern Africa, to Turkish brothers, to obviously we had our Afghan brothers, obviously our Pakistanis, Indians, Bengalis. We were all together. Do you know what I'm saying? It was literally irrespective of cultural lines, and I found that was great. I'd look around the room. I still look at the old pictures, and I just noticed that, mashallah, we're from such different, diverse places, but we're all in the same place. We all have the same, you know what I mean? We all have the same goals, and we're all brothers at the end of the day.
No, that's really good to hear, and that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to really create that environment of like, I think the first talk I gave on the first Chill Out Friday was ikhwa and brotherhood, wasn't it? And that the ties of brotherhood are way deeper and thicker than blood in Islam. Alhamdulillah, that's good to hear. So we done a couple of like night manias as well, if you remember. So this is a program we done. We partnered up with another organization, Islamic Network, and they specialize in a program called Night Mania. And this is like, we get teenage boys come to the masjid, and we do literally what, 24 hours or what was it, 24 hours? Yeah, 12 hours. Sorry, 12 hours in the masjid, and we don't sleep. So it's literally from like, it could be from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. the next day, and it's like a whole, half a day of literally fun, enjoyment, brotherhood, bonding, and like, there's so much, things that came out of that. And again, so how was that experience, Night Mania?
Night Mania was mad, it was like
we done about 3, didn't we, over the last 7-8 years? We done 3.
So like it would start off, we'd be starting off cool and calm, having the talks, playing a bit of ping pong, and then we'd progress to having like the physical activity, wrestling and rug bro, and then that was the time when you're meant to be getting tired, but you're not, because it's too physical. And then the food would come in, and then slowly you'd see brothers go to the side having a bit of a nap. But yeah, mashallah, that was a very good bonding experience, because obviously if you're spending that amount of time with your brothers, you feel a connection.
Alhamdulillah. So those were sort of like I would say our 3 main flagship programs we've done throughout the year. We did do like the odd Ramadan fasting exams. We've done like a night on Valentine's night, I think it was, with the young boys, to talk about like, just mingling with the opposite gender and stuff like that. And I think off the top of my head, there was so much that we did cover. Yeah, go on, Isa.
I remember that. I actually remember that. That one was, I'd say, I thought I didn't go to that. My dad didn't let me, but actually I do remember going to that, because one thing happened, the sheikh, he said, he said, raise up your hands if you had a feeling for a woman. And no brothers raised up their hands because they were scared. But one brother did. Oh, mashallah, I forgot his name, but I remember his face. Yeah. He raised his hand, and I remember Brother Hamza was like, yeah, so the rest of us are good, yeah? Alhamdulillah. So that was just, you know what? It was a serious topic, but it was also funny, and something like that happened so many years ago, but I still remember.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Because he broke down taboos, isn't it? Like, we can't talk about that.
Yeah, and we were talking about it in the masjid.
In the masjid, yeah. What a better place.
Yeah, exactly. And it was all brothers, and there was no judgment and nothing. Like, it's like, it will never go away. It will never go. Friends fade, but brothers don't.
Alhamdulillah, yeah, that's nicely put. Friends fade, brothers don't, mashallah. Like I said, you've been with us, since you've been, since you're 13, and now you're what, 19, you said?
Yeah.
19. How has it impacted your deen?
I'd say it has impacted me a lot, because as we were saying earlier, we used to talk about everything in the masjid. Do you know what I'm saying? Obviously, you have this talk with your family, but as Yusuf said, there's a lot of cultural taboos and those kind of things that, you don't feel comfortable talking with your parents, to be honest, or the imam. So you talking with the brothers, that was a new experience. I don't think people before that had that kind of experience, unless the imam was like, 20 years old, black hair and all of that, but that's not how it is. So the brothers were there, and we talked about everything, and it gave some things I had like questions in my mind, they were cleared, and it helped me understand other people's view a lot as well, because as you may feel like, if you're a certain culture and in this community, you're kind of closed off to your own people. You only hear what like your own people think. Now I'm going to the masjid and I'm hearing different views, people, brothers, like different scholars, different schools of thought, brothers in Egypt, brothers in, Turkey, they have different schools of thought. And that opened my mind, like it stopped me having that closed mind, kind of South Asian mentality that I had before. And that is actually really helpful, because I've found in the real world, in university and work, you're not going to be surrounded by the people who are similar to you. You'll be surrounded by people who are different to you. I need to know how to interact with them the right way and not clash. And that's because we were doing this at such a young age. It allowed us to give us those tools that we can gel with anyone, any brother, anyone that believes in the kalima. We can gel with them no matter what. And that itself is a big feat. And obviously, we got to know the brothers, and as I said before, the brothers will never go. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we built individual bonds with brothers, and it's something nice. If it wasn't there, then I would never know them, and I'd never have those experiences. So
Even till this day, look, we're outside your flat now, and we're sitting in the car doing this sort of interview. And look, even to this day, I'm 31, married with a baby girl. Issa's 19, first year university. Yahya doing his doing his GCSEs, and I'll still come down and I still meet you guys up, give you some dates, and like I said, that bond never goes. Whether we've had a year of COVID and everyone's sort of been to themselves, but we still they're making dua for each other, thinking about each other, and coming by, and
people think that you can't have that kind of bond with people such a different age to you. I'm 19, Yusuf's 31, mashallah. But you can, because if you can have it with your other family members, then why can't you have it with your brother in Islam? So it's there. Me and Yusuf talk like we're brothers. You know what I mean? Blood brothers. And it doesn't make a difference how much older he is. There's no filter. As in, I don't need to hide anything from him. He don't need to hide anything from me. We have truly bonded, if you know what I'm saying. And that's only come about because of the youth club, mashallah. And that's why I think the elders, they appreciated this, because they worked so hard for the masjid. They were the ones back in the days putting the pennies together to, put this Islamic center together, like recreate what it is like in the Islamic world. And they're seeing that we're using it well, and we're bringing the community together, and we're doing what's right. It's a win-win. Do you know what I mean? It's good for us. It's good for them. And obviously, we don't live in as I said earlier, we don't live in a highly Muslim area. We don't have those kind of experiences from school or the neighborhood. So the masjid is our place. We come together. And I've always been told by certain other brothers that, everyone that comes to the masjid, I was like, this is where it is. I've always been around the mosque my whole life. It's the best place to be. It's the best place to spend your time. And if you bring Allah into everything in your life, obviously it's beneficial. We all know this.
Jazakumullah khair. Nice wise words, mashallah, Isa. Yahya, you want to add to that? So in terms of like the impact the youth activities has had on you, and has it impacted your deen?
Honestly, it's the same thing really with Isa. That you get to learn about different people, different viewpoints about Islam. Obviously, people from Arab countries, people from Turkey, people from different countries of Islam and different schools of thought. You get to like open your mind to these different things other than the mind you actually have yourself. So in that terms, it was very helpful, and meeting new people as well. So really, and also sometimes when you're unsure about your deen, you can talk to people who know better, and they can advise you about things that you probably don't know that yourself much about, and it basically patches up the holes in your deen. Basically, that was one thing that was very useful in the masjid, I'd say.
Okay, Jazakumullah khair. No, that's very good to hear, Yahya. So just one final question before I let you guys leave. So just the future going forwards. Obviously, you guys are probably aware of like the changes that we've had, and how we've moved from one charity structure to a new charity structure. We've had new trustees coming in. New trustees are being appointed. They're looking at various positions to manage the day-to-day running of the masjid, and so many brothers, mashallah, are doing so many good things. Like currently, they're doing Ramadan food packs to go out to those who are vulnerable and need it during the month of Ramadan. There's been various, Sheikh Salim done a Q&A session this week about Ramadan. Iqbal Naseem, our trustee's been doing sort of virtual reminders. They're doing khatibs are coming in, giving khutbas. So alhamdulillah, there's a plethora of activities that are happening behind the scene as we sort of kickstart this new beginning with the new Makwas and new vision going forward. So what would be your, like, you brothers must have lived, you lived in Wellington for a very long time. You've interacted with the masjid from a very young age. So in terms of youth activities for the masjid or youth services, what do you think is key? What needs to be addressed? What services need to be brought in your experience?
That's a very good question. I think the new coming of the masjid is something positive, because obviously people always get into their old ways, and it's always good to look at it from a fresh perspective. And that was the whole thing of bringing the youth in, that we want the youth to interact with the mosque one day. And currently that's what's happening, mashallah. I would like to see the youth club chill out Friday activities. They'll always be there, and there'll always be a place for that, because the youth need somewhere and something to look forward to, as I did. Because what else are they going to be doing at that? Do you know what I mean? In Friday evening, they're just probably going to be sitting at home playing games. Let's be honest here, or be out doing something else. So it's better that they're in the masjid. So that, I think, that's something that's a constant. It needs to stay. New things, I think we did touch on these ideas before, these kind of specific events, like we did for the fasting during exams and the Valentine's Day, and there was another one I can't exactly remember. But we need to do more of these, because I found them very helpful. And obviously you're hearing it from the brothers, that the elder brothers there had done their research and they came proper prepared to explain everything to us. All our queries were addressed. We need to do more for things like, I'd say maybe financial issues with slightly older brothers, and things like, I think we did do a uni life one, and just, broaden it, make it to do with life as general, because back home, not just the masjid, the whole community, they back you up for everything. You know what I mean? Anything life can throw at you. We need to replicate that in the masjid, because obviously we don't have the community outside. We only have it in the masjid. So like things like, we already touched on it, but marriage, but I do think one of the most important things is financial, because I've noticed the masjid doesn't always put enough, I'm personally saying that it doesn't put enough focus on the brothers' finances, because that's one of the most important things. Now, a lot of us, alhamdulillah, we're doing okay, but there is a big portion of the mosque, people who are recent immigrants, maybe people who have come across hard times. Now it's even more common. They need some sort of direction. A lot of brothers, they don't know either what's going on in this country, or some brothers just don't know like what to do and what's Islamically right. So we do need to address that. I think that's very important. After this whole, COVID thing goes away, we need to get onto that ASAP.
So like employment opportunities and maybe CV writing, and where can you apply for jobs and things like that. Alhamdulillah, that's a good shout, mashallah. That's a good shout, Isa. You want to add anything to that? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say what the Masjid could do is to because obviously when you're in your youth, you meet different people. Obviously nowadays it's much more common, with homosexual people and stuff like that. So you need to you need the Masjid needs to, because some people obviously don't, some people just don't know, obviously. So the Masjid need to tell people how you should approach these type of people, and how to deal with, not deal with them, but how to interact with them, I'd say.
Alhamdulillah, very, very valid points both of you have mentioned. I just want to say, we're obviously running out of time, but just want to say Jazakumullah khairan to Isa and Yahya for giving their time to do this short interview, and just to really share their experience as youth, and as they're still youth, but as youngsters who have gone through programs in the masjid, and the impact it has had on them, and obviously for the future, and what they should really be allowed to have an input in the masjid, and what their youth vision is for themselves. So Jazakumullah khairan for your input. Inshallah, after COVID is over, and when borders do open, we're able to have our youth gatherings again, and inshallah Allah allows everything to go back to normal. But yeah, thank you very much, Isa and Yahya. Until the next youth segment. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, thank you very much, Brother Yusuf and Yahya and Isa for that interview. I was just blown away. It was so uplifting to hear the youth having bonded through these sessions in the masjid. I know there's been a lot of organisation behind that. I know Yusuf and others work very hard to do that. To hear a youngster saying to spend time at the masjid is the best place to be is just it's lovely, right? For me, just hearing them talking about the fact that it opened their minds in different ways to all the views that they hear from the scholars around the world at that age, and that it sets them up for dealing with and working with people at work who are obviously not going to be from the same background as them. That was also quite enlightening for me. The other thing I liked in that interview with them, and to see how these guys are developing, was that they are developing close bonds, you know, as they are doing from scouting. And these bonds, you know, last a lifetime, alhamdulillah, which is great. I'm looking forward to seeing these youngsters. I hope I'm alive when they are soon running and leading the community centre themselves. Great points that they've raised in terms of needing more information for youngsters on financial management. I mean, that's a UK-wide problem, right? We don't teach that in schools. Preparing them for university life. So Muslims going to university, you know, I never had the benefit of that, you know, advice, and it wasn't anyone's fault. It's just that we never thought about it. He also talked about the fact that they need to know more about marriage and how, you know, how would they meet their partners in a halal way, CV writing, employment opportunities. So here I am saying to the trustees who are working incredibly hard already at Makwas, you've got a whole list of other things to do. So I won't bang on more about that. Okay, time's pressing on. We are fast getting to iftar time. I know everyone's getting hungry. Next, we have another item on, and our final item on an outdoor activity, cycling, by some slightly more mature brothers. Again, great for networking, getting out and staying mentally balanced as well as, well, physically balanced on the bike too. The local community has started a cycling club for all levels here in Wallington and Carshalton, and here are brothers Athar and Suleiman talking about it.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Suleiman. Good to have you along with us.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me.
No, alhamdulillah. So I think we should start. I think, Brother Suleiman, tell us about how you came along in joining the Wallington cycle groups, and yeah, how did it all start?
Well, yeah, for me, it was all credit to actually Kashif by himself. I was invited via we've got a very active WhatsApp group which we use for the Wallington cycling group, and he kind of forwarded me the invite, and he actually did the personal touch as well. Mashallah, he kind of forwarded me. He also kind of contacted me separately and said, you know, we're a group of brothers who are all kind of enthusiastic about cycling. Would you like to join us, and what can we do to kind of make it easier for you to join? And I found, you know, the whole experience of kind of joining was actually, everyone was very welcoming, and they made it very easy and accommodating. And yeah, we haven't looked back since, mashallah.
Oh, alhamdulillah. Yeah, so I think you were one of the first riders that we had in the group, if I'm correct. I think you started week 1 or week 2 or week 3, I think.
I think I joined in week 2. Mashallah, there's some other brothers who were the pioneers who were there from right at the beginning. But yeah, no, I think we started back in the summer of last year, and yeah, no, I've got the bug since, right? And we haven't missed a week. There's been someone cycling every Saturday with us, so it's really good.
Alhamdulillah. No, you've been around. I think the first week we started, I wasn't there in the first week, but Brother Sheikh Suleiman Ghani was with us as well, from the Croydon Mosque, from the Pearly Mosque, and then I think I started similarly to yourself. I started on the 2nd or the 3rd week. I also saw it on the WhatsApp group, and I'm like, well, you know, if you go back in that around that time of the year, and we were in the lockdown, we hadn't been to the mosque for 3 or 4 months. There was no Taraweeh, there was nothing going on, and frankly, I was cooped up in the house. Right, I had no cycling experience at all, well, very little cycling experience from when I was a boy, really. And other than that, you know, I didn't even have a bike. I borrowed a bicycle from my neighbor. And basically, I just said to Kashif, there's a chance for us to get out and do some exercise with the other brothers who I normally meet in the mosque. For my own mental health, yes, it's at 7:30 in the morning on a Saturday, but I will be there. and then alhamdulillah, you know, since then we have not looked back. So yeah, it's been amazing to have you along with us, and yeah, and you know how the group has evolved. How have you seen the group been evolved in the last year or so?
Well, it's been a real joy to actually see the group change and grow, actually. I mean, as you say, when we first joined, I think we were all a little bit green in terms of how we were kind of taking on the responsibility of cycling together. But you know, we've seen people, as you say, with kind of, you know, who haven't touched a bike since perhaps they were 10 years old, to people who've been kind of, you know, commuting into London from Southwest London on a regular basis. And the way we've done it, I think, has been really good. That we've been able to cater to all abilities. So when we find there's a group of people who want to go a little bit faster, a little bit harder, then they'll break off and do their own group. And those who want to kind of have a bit more of a gentle ride, then we make sure we accommodate kind of routes for them as well. And it's been quite fun with the WhatsApp group as well. Now, as you say, we haven't been able to connect through the mosque in the way that perhaps we normally do because of lockdown, but we've been able to kind of keep up that sense of kind of community by kind of obviously with the rides themselves, but also through the WhatsApp group and talking about brother, what do you think of this bike? Is this a good price? Can we kind of organize another kind of ride for our children on a Sunday and make sure we kind of get out and give them a chance to kind of meet other children too in our community. So I think it started with just kind of a simple kind of Saturday morning ride, but it's become something which is really kind of important to a lot of the people who join. And I know I invited my cousin to join, who actually isn't even local to this area. He lives in Croydon, which it's a good half an hour ride to the start point. But he now joins regularly, and when I talk to him, he talks about these cycle rides as a highlight of his week, and a chance to kind of meet other people and feel kind of part of this community, which is beautiful.
Alhamdulillah, yeah, I think what your cousin is saying, especially for myself, exactly the same thing. It's the highlight of my week over a number over the past year. It's something different, right? You get up and do you do your normal work, and we've deliberately kept it at a time of 7:30 in the morning so that most of the time we get back home for 9:30, maximum 10 o'clock, if that. So you don't take up much of your family lifetime, and by the time you get in, you still have the rest of the day and the rest of the weekend to enjoy with your family. So, we kept the main ride at that time specifically for that particular reason, so that people can join. And also, then there's, as you mentioned, there's some secondary rides that we do for children. I mean, pretty much anyone can set up a ride, right? There doesn't have to be a ride master. And so a lot of times, especially in the last few months, we've seen rides on the Sundays, rides in the middle of the week. Anybody on the WhatsApp group can say, guys, I'm planning to do a ride tomorrow. Anybody wants to join me? This is the route. And there you go, basically. That's a ride set up. That's as easy as it is. Alhamdulillah, I think we have about 37 or 38 people, nearly 40 people on the WhatsApp group now.
Mashallah, I think so. Yeah.
And I think we've got about, on any given ride on a Saturday, we have about 8 to 10, maybe sometimes 11 brothers turning up, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, and that's despite, as you say, the 7:30 start, right? I mean, a lot of us, we obviously we wake up for Fajr and we work hard during the week, and the Saturday morning can be quite sacrosanct because of that reason. But nonetheless, we still find ourselves, kind of putting ourselves out of bed and getting onto the road. Some of us have to leave around 6:30 to kind of get to the start point at that time, and that hasn't been a deterrence, I think, because everyone recognises just how valuable it is in our lives. So. Yeah, mashallah, it's a special thing. I mean, just want to ask you as well, Atul. I mean, we vary the routes quite regularly. Do you have a kind of a particular favorite route that we've done, or is there one that you'd like to recommend to the callers today?
Well, the great thing about the routes that we do, right? First of all, we've always catered for all abilities, right? So yes, there's a few people who want to do the same route a bit faster, so that's fine. We've yet to have anybody do it like when we're still finishing the route and they've done it and then come back behind us. I don't think that's happened yet.
It's a relief to say we haven't been lapped yet, have we?
But I was very worried about it initially because I was like, I'm of a normal ability, frankly, not much physical exercise and just your normal average bloke, right? And I was thinking, how am I going to catch up with these guys? Are they going to be too fast? But you know what? I would say that maybe 80% or 70%, 80% of the group are people like myself, who are just normal people going out for enjoying bicycle ride, right? There is no competition. There's nothing. I'll be honest, the amount of brothers I catch up with during the ride about their work, about what's going on in their lives, about their children, about different school exams and everything else, the topics that we cover while we are riding with each other is, mashallah, wide ranging, basically. So it's been, I think in terms of some of the highlights, by building myself up along with the rides that we have done, right? The longest ride of my life that I did was just before Ramadan. And I think that was perhaps one of the best rides that I've ever done, which was going through from, and we built ourselves up for this to go from Carshalton Park, so from Ruskin Road near Makwas, all the way to Windsor Castle. and then come back. And that's it was 51.7 miles, 80
Great
kilometers.
distance. Yeah, it's a fantastic milestone for you, brother. You know, we all did really well with that. Yeah.
Absolutely, we all did. And so, but just to let the listeners know, right, this was not something that we do out every day, right? So we tend to do a maximum of 14, 15 miles, you know, a leisurely place, 2 hours, 1 hour, 45 minutes, right, on a normal basis. But we thought to ourselves, Ramadan is coming, and we thought we might as well do something a bit different and see how far we can test this. And so not all brothers joined, but I think we had a good fair few, about 8 or 9 brothers that came with us. And alhamdulillah, you know, we managed to do that. That was the longest ride we've ever done. It took us about 6.5, 7 hours. But apart from that, I think all the local routes going through Beddington Park is very, is mashallah very good. We went to some of the parks in Purley, even the park down near Lavender Fields. That's a very good, mashallah, very
stunning
beautiful.
around there. Yeah,
Stunning around there, and we go through the things. So, you know, literally, I was surprised within 5-6 miles of Cashilton Park how many beautiful untouched areas we have nearby that I had never known that this was around the corner. There's a really good, in Mitcham, and Hackbridge, between Mitcham and Hackbridge, there's a whole wetlands area that we park through behind Beddington Park, which I had never known about, mashallah. And this is such a good biking, ride over there. So yeah, I really can't pinpoint 1 or 2 rides. I think overall we've been.
And I think you hit on a really, really important point for me as well, Atharbay, is that now I've lived in this area, kind of now Sutton, Carshalton, kind of Colston way for over 18 years. And only in the last year have I discovered new places that I have never seen before. And that's despite nearly being in this area for over 2 decades. There's something about a bike which allows you to kind of get this sense of exploration that you just don't get a chance to do otherwise. You know, I mean, I found these kind of, the Farthing Valleys near here, the Banstead Woods, the trails around the river. These kind of places you just wouldn't touch unless you kind of got out, with the encouragement of the brothers who are kind of going out on the ride too, and getting on a bike and doing it. And for me, we really can kind of be grateful for the area that we live in, the home counties as they call it, the Surrey Hills that we have here. It's beautiful. And for me, one of the highlight rides as well is that a lot of us, again, just before Ramadan, we did a couple of trips up to Box Hill. Which is kind of near West Humble, again in kind of southwest London, and that it's a challenging ride, but for me it was quite exciting because for a lot of the listeners will know about it. Back in 2012, Surrey was the official cycling county for the Olympics, and if you're into kind of the Olympics at all, then you might recognise the route that we took up Zigzag Lane to Box Hill. So there's a real kind of rush of excitement for a lot of us, is thinking, oh, look at us, we're actually doing an Olympic route as part of our Wellington cycling group, mashallah. So that was a particular highlight for me as well.
Else. But one of the highlights that I always thought we were not going to do when I started cycling was I always thought we started in June, July. And I thought to myself, okay, we'll go up till October, maybe November, and then we will stop, and then we'll start again in March again. But what really took me by surprise was we went through all the way in the winter.
The darkest months, indeed.
I remember cycling to Crystal Palace in December. It was -1, probably 0 degrees outside. It was sunny, but it was really, really cold. And I think Crystal Palace is about a 16-mile round trip from Cashilton Park. And I felt really good getting up in the morning, and yes, it's cold, so we had all the layers of 4 or 5 layers of clothing on, but we kept it through in the winter. And I think that shows you the mental health benefit of this, right? That it just gives you a bit of freedom. And once you are with other people, it's a bit like going to the gym, not by yourself, but by other people, right? When you go, it just becomes enjoyable. And you just do it for the people, really. You do it for the brothers who are with you, and you just have a nice ride, basically.
Fully agree. I mean, as you know, my cousin who joins us, I've seen him more in the last year than I probably have in the last 18 years, right? And that's down to the group and down to the cycling. And now we can share, as you say, on the rides. We kind of get it's almost like a chance to network as well a bit. Like we have people with different professions, we have people with different interests. We have brothers who kind of are doing literature degrees. We have people who are kind of senior kind of consultants in technology, lawyers. And it's just a fascinating chance to kind of have a different, deep conversation with someone whilst you're riding as well, which is quite beautiful too.
Absolutely, and I think also as setting an example for our families, especially my children, my daughter. So I take her out cycling now every now and then as well, and it's sort of like, because I'm doing it, she wants to do it, because it's like, okay, it's about like growing older. And I think we've got this other rice that we set up on Sundays, going past River Wandle, and it's something I definitely recommend to the listeners. If they haven't done the River Wandle cycling ride, it's the easiest ride to do, going past Hackbridge, just following the River Wandle all the way through to when you get to the Rose Garden Park, near Wimbledon, in Morden, and you come back. You don't realize that 2 miles away from where we are right now is such a beautiful pathway.
I could listen to that interview for a long, long time. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. So if anyone does want to join the cycling group, just send a message to 07984 082 718. That's 07984 082 718. Or contact the MCWS Makwas via the website. Thank you everyone for joining us today for our radio program. Please remember to make dua for the Ummah. We are in testing times indeed at the moment, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can change, and indeed would change anything. So please do make dua. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our ibadah and grant our duas in this blessed month of Ramadan, especially in the last 10 days. So thank you everyone for listening, and bye-bye from me. Here are the duas from Imam Yusuf Sahin, and also the translation by Maya Khan.
اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا برحمتك واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت فإنك تقضي ولا يقضى عليك إنه لا يذل من واليت ولا يعز من عاديت تباركت ربنا وتعاليت. لك الحمد على ما قضيت ولك الشكر على ما أعطيت. نستغفرك اللهم من جميع الذنوب والخطايا ونتوب إليك. ذهب الظمأ وابتلت العروق وثبت الأجر إن شاء الله.
The thirst has gone, the veins are moist, and the reward is confirmed if Allah wills.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته.
O Allah, Master of this perfect call and established prayer, grant Muhammad the intercession and the favour, and raise him to the honoured station that you have promised him.